Hi dear students, so today we have a poem The Solitary Reaper by William Wordsworth for discussion. William Wordsworth is one of the romantic poets. Romantic not in the Bollywood sense of the word, but it was a group of poets. This group was called Romantics, and the movement they were in is called Romanticism. They had certain features, certain characteristics, which distinguished them from their predecessors as well as successors. So I would like to talk to you about those characteristics before I proceed with the poem. Above all, these romantics were lovers of nature. Not only lovers but also worshippers. So romantic poets were lovers of nature. They loved nature. They worshipped nature. They found everything in nature. They said that we should not live in towns, we should not live in cities. They were against industrialization, and they found their shelter and refuge in nature. They said even God pervaded nature. So they worshipped nature. They ranked nature above everything else. They wanted to stay in the lap of nature. Wordsworth actually said that nature can teach you more than all the universities of the world put together. So they found God, shelter, refuge, peace, joy, education, morals, everything in nature. They were against industrialization. They were against modernization. They were against everything that would take them away from nature. And then they were lovers of past. They loved the past. In fact, they loved the Middle Ages, the medieval ages. They loved the stories of the Dark Ages. They believed in fairies. They believed in ghosts. In fact, their belief in fairies and ghosts, makes our third point. They were lovers of the supernatural. Their poetry is replete with mentions of the ghosts and the fairies and other supernatural elements. And then they were lovers of solitude. They loved solitude. Solitude is the noun of solitary. They loved to be all alone. They didn't want to live in crowds in the hubbub of the city. They preferred solitary meditation to talking to crowds or to being famous. They were rather reserved, wanted to be isolated. They loved solitude very much. In fact, they loved solitude so much that the poem, The Solitary Reaper, which is under our discussion, actually has the mention of solitude 4 times, 3 to 4 times in the very first stanza. And let me draw your attention to the title. The title itself is Solitary Reaper. Solitary, a lonely reaper. So solitude appealed to these poets so much that as soon as they would see someone solitary, as soon as they would see someone lonely in a field or somewhere, man, they would just go crazy, and they would give vent to their feelings and they would write poems. That's what Wordsworth actually did, even here in our poem. So let's discuss the lines of the poem and then you will know. He begins with, behold her single in the field. Yon solitary highland lass. Reaping and singing by herself. Stop here or gently pass. So he says, behold her, look at her. Look at her, and she's single. So she's single in the field. So he is asking us to look at a girl, and she was single in the field. Notice the word single. She was single in the field, Yon solitary highland lass, that lonely lass means girl, highland means belonging to a hilly area. So notice the word solitary again in this line. When it says reaping and singing reaping and singing by herself is again a phrase for solitary or single or lonely or alone. So in the very first stanza we have the words single, solitary, by herself. They are all the synonyms of solitary. Can you see how much these romantics loved solitude? Their emotions would be stirred as soon as they would see a solitary girl or a solitary person sitting somewhere in nature or sitting in a field or doing something in the field or singing a song, or man, they would just go mad after that. And do you know what they would do? They would give vent to their feelings. They would express their feelings in a poem. And they actually say that poetry is nothing but a spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. When the powerful feelings overpower you or overwhelm you, and when you write them down, that's poetry for them. That's what they say. They define it as a spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. Now let's look at the lines again. Behold her, look at her, single in the field. She is all alone in the field. Yon solitary, that lonely, highland, hilly area girl, lass means. So that's lonely, hilly area girl, or girl belonging to hilly area. Reaping and singing by herself. So she is reaping and then singing a song by herself, all alone. Stop here or gently pass. So the poet was going on a pavement or say he was going on a path by a field, and there were other passengers also. So he says to other passengers, he asks other passengers to either stop there or pass gently. He does not want the highland girl to be disturbed. He does not want the pleasurable song to be disrupted. He wants to take pleasure from it. He wants to listen to it. He wants to keep looking at her. He wants to be thinking about her. He wants to enjoy solitude. Now the girl, I mean, he's not alone because there are other passengers, but he's enjoying even other solitude. And then he wants, because he's all emotional as soon as he sees someone lonely. And so he's getting pleasure from the fact that she's all alone, and he's getting pleasure from the song she's singing, and he's getting pleasure from the fact that she's doing it in a field, and she's reaping and singing something natural. She's not working on a computer or something. If there had been computers in the times of Wordsworth, he must have detested computers. He must have hated it. These romantics just found everything in nature, and they wanted everybody to go to nature. In fact, their slogan was back to nature. Man, crazy guys. So here it says, behold her single in the field, look at her, she's all alone in the field, yon solitary highland lass, that lonely girl, lass means girl, belonging to a hilly area, she's reaping and singing a song all by herself. She's all alone. So and then he asks the passengers either to stop there or to pass without making a noise, or to pass quietly so as not to disturb the solitary reaper in her song. I really hope that you have understood it now.